Hey, what is up, mortals? It is me, Dylan, here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 7 of What If Izuku Had a Decay Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, because you're in for a treat. No, honestly. So, we begin. Izuku walked into UA and made his way to classroom 1A. He opened the sliding door and sat down, smiling for this upcoming school day. It had been a few weeks since classes started, and everyone had begun getting situated with each other. Every day during lunch, Izuku would eat at a table with his friends, Mina Ashido, Eijiro Kirishima, Denki Kaminari, and Katsuki Bakugo. Sitting at his desk, Midoriya watched as a black-haired man with bags under his eyes made his way behind the podium, in the front of the room. Aizawa looks at his class as he rubs his eyes tiredly, as he prepares to announce the class. Morning, twerps. I need you all to get dressed in your hero outfits. We'll be on the bus for your first big class assessment. Aizawa sighed as the class exploded with questions from every direction. Aizawa, now completely done and annoyed, skips over all the questions and continues explaining to the class. This assessment will be carried out in a different facility called the USJ. What we will be doing there will be explained by the pro hero operating the assessment, 13. After that, the class was satisfied enough with the explanation and left to get changed, and left to meet up outside the bus. The bus ride to the USJ was eventful, with the class excited for what was to come. Uraraka was excited to be able to meet the pro hero 13. After a long bus trip, they finally arrived at a large building. The class walking inside the building was greeted by a female voice, originating from someone wearing what looks like a mixture of a spacesuit and a hazmat suit. Some students recognized who they were immediately. "It's 13!" She screamed in amazement. 13 chuckled in delight after being recognized. I'm honored to see I still have fans. It's great to meet you all. Even through the mask, the class could tell she had a smile on her face while speaking. I would love to speak to you all, but we should get the class started for today. 13 explains to the class how this assessment will work. She explains to them that there will be fake villain attacks in each of the testing areas, and students placed into groups will have to use their knowledge and quirks to safely navigate the disaster scenarios. After she finishes explaining the test, the students get excited at the prospect of this test. Kirishima noticed something far behind the pro hero and called it out. Oh wow! Are there also pretend villains for this test? Kirishima asked 13, confused, as she looked back and saw countless thugs exiting through a purple portal. Huh? Who are they? They aren't meant to be here! Students, stay behind me! 13 moves between the students and all of the thugs in an attempt to protect them. Aizawa, seeing 13 had a handle on protecting the students, runs down the stairs to the central area of the USJ, where he kicked the closest thug. Aizawa had gone around fighting and beating up a majority of the thugs in the central area of the USJ, although there were more and more coming. All of the students look on with either concerned or terrified expressions. Bakugo begins running towards the stairs, but is stopped by 13. Stop! I won't let any of you go down there! Your teacher can handle it on his own! 13 yells at Bakugo, stopping him from running any further. Well, I can't just sit here and leave them to fight by themselves. If our lives are in danger, we should fight back too. The spiky-haired blonde yells out at the pro hero. I get you want to fight too, but a Razorhead can handle those thugs on their own. I need you all here safe in case something worse appears. 13 explains, giving a voice of reason to the angry bomb boy. Upon hearing this, Izuku thought to himself, confused. Something's worse? What could be something worse? It took a moment for Midoriya to put the pieces together. Those villains Aizawa were fighting were all too weak to be the leader, nor do any of them seem to be the person behind the portal quirk. Izuku put together that 13 was worried the leader would show up to attack them. After realizing this, Izuku heard a weird noise coming from behind him. Izuku looked back and saw a similar purple ooze form in the air and expand outwards into a large person. There, standing behind the class, was a man wearing a bartender suit with no discernible features. The only part of him that could be called a head was a collection of that purple substance with two glowing yellow streaks, for what Midoriya could only assume were eyes. The entire class was shocked by the sudden appearance of the man. The only people able to react were 3 students, Kirishima, Bakugo, and Izuku. The 3 students leaped towards the man, who expanded outwards, using his purple gas to spread himself outwards. As expected, Izuku's outstretched hand had nothing to grab. Instead, he felt his body pulled into the purple gas, and his body was warped to a different location. Midoriya looked around and panicked as he tried to learn where he was. Izuku found himself in the water portion of the USJ on top of a large boat. He also saw 2 other people teleported there. Izuku recognized them both as Tsuyu Asui and Minoru Mineta. Ad time! This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN allows you to change your IP address, making it harder to track, and securing your privacy. In addition to providing safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services like Disney+. If you're from the United States, you won't be able to watch any of the MCU and Sony Spider-Man movies. Bummer. But by switching your location to Japan, you can access them whenever you want. Check out the link in the description to get 3 extra months. When you purchase the 12-month subscription plan that costs $99.99 a year. This deal is for a limited time only, so get it while you're at it. Well, thank you ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. Mineta began to run around screaming, terrified of the countless villains. Izuku and Tsuyu tried to stay calm, but the second Mineta tried to hug Tsuyu, he got an instant punch in the face by Tsuyu. Of course he did. Midoriya looked over the edge of the boat and saw plenty of villains surrounding the boat, slowly getting closer and blocking any routes for escape. Mineta, calm down! We need to have clear minds to get out of this mess. Izuku tried to say nicely to the screaming grape. Mineta tries to calm down. Ribbit, what are you thinking of, Midoriya? Tsuyu asks, after she notices Izuku's stern expression, which was deep in thought. Izuku returns from deep in thought after hearing her speak. Sorry, Tsuyu. Tsu. I was just thinking of a way to get out of this. But it's really hard to think of anything without knowing your enemy's quirks. Izuku apologizes after he got Tsu's preferred nickname wrong, and returns to his thoughts. Why don't you focus on what we do now? My quirk allows me to do almost anything a frog can do, meaning I can jump long distances and have a long tongue. This stage would be perfect for my quirk, considering how much water there is, Ribbit, Tsuyu explains. Mineta, now understanding he needs to help out, takes a ball of his head and places it against the wall of the ship. It may not be much, but my quirk allows me to take these sticky balls of my head and I can throw them onto things and they won't release. Although, when I try to touch them, I just bounce off. Mineta explains his quirk to Midoriya in hopes that they will find a way to save him. Izuku is lost in thought, with a plan forming slowly in his mind, but he keeps throwing doubt on himself, thinking things like if he could truly do this, or if he was good enough to handle the situation. Izuku throws aside these concerns as the looming threat of villains grows closer to the ship. Tsu, how fast do you think you can go while carrying Mineta and me out of this area? I could get us out of here, but the villains will likely attack us before we get away. We would need something to distract them, Ribbit. I think I have an idea of how to distract them. Do you think a boat falling on them will do the trick? Izuku asked both Tsu and Mineta to get a stunning response. I'll take that as a yes. Izuku began to explain his plan to both Tsu and Mineta. Okay, Tsu, you will carry both me and Mineta after I start to plan. What I will do is use my quirk on the boat. It won't be strong enough to decay the entire boat, but enough of it for the boat to collapse and fall on the people in the water. Izuku nervously explains his plan to both Tsu and Mineta, who both nod in response. All right. I can do that, Ribbit. Tsu prepares by grabbing onto Mineta, who happily accepts her grasp, although only to be hit over the head a second later for snuggling too close and trying to sniff her. Izuku walks over to what he estimates is the center of the ship and takes off one of his gloves, lowers his hand down, and touches the floor of the ship. The wood on the ship began to turn gray and slowly break apart, spreading across the ship. Midoriya began running away from the center point of the ship and was grabbed by Tsu's tongue as she jumped off the ship with both of them. Behind them, the ship began crumbling down, and many big parts of the ship fell into the water, hitting many of the villains swimming in the water. The 3 students fleeing the water zone celebrated as they saw the villains too worried about getting crushed to chase the 3 of them. Izuku, Tsu, and Mineta arrive at the center area of the USJ and hide behind a rock. They can see their teacher fighting tons of villains towards the center. Mineta was excited to see the pro hero fighting, hoping they would be saved, but Midoriya could see Aizawa was starting to struggle in his fight. Izuku and Tsu could see Aizawa was sweating, and his movements were getting slower as well, as his use of his quirk had gotten slower. We have to do something! Aizawa likely won't be able to handle this fight for much longer. Tsuyu agreed, but Mineta was shocked. Us? Do something? Are you out of your mind, Midoriya? Let the pro heroes handle it. How are we supposed to do something to those guys? Mineta cries out in Izuku's panic. It wasn't until Tsuyu covered Mineta's mouth with her glove that Izuku stopped worrying. Mineta, you will get us found. We will be completely useless to Aizawa if we get captured. Izuku explains as he looks back over his teacher's battle with the villains. By now, most of them were defeated, but there was someone new approaching Aizawa that gave Izuku the creeps. A man with light blue hair and plenty of scratch marks walked towards Eraserhead, cackling maniacally. What put Izuku off the most was the fact that on the man's body were what looked to be severed hands of people of varying in size. He began to fight Aizawa, and after a bit, he saw Aizawa stagger back, holding onto his elbow, leaving Izuku confused about what happened. Mineta yelped in worry, but quickly shut his mouth, hoping they weren't caught. Izuku's and Tsu's faces went pale as he saw the light blue-haired man's head turn directly in their direction. The man ran towards them quickly before either of them could react and reached his hand out towards Tsu's face. Izuku panicked and reached out and grabbed the man's arm, forgetting he wasn't wearing his glove. The skin on the light blue-haired man's arm began to decay to his shock. The man reached his hand out and grabbed Izuku's arm in retaliation. Both Izuku's and Tomura's skin were starting to decay when suddenly Tomura's quirk stopped. They both looked over and saw Aizawa looking directly at Tomura, canceling out his quirk. In response, Tomura kicked Midoriya away and started running, now seeing he couldn't kill the kid anymore without his quirk. Izuku was still in shock, quietly muttering to himself the same words. We have the same quirk. A villain supposedly leading this attack had the same quirk as him. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I like to say, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.